Welcome to Reflect with Ed Fassio. Get ready to experience one of the world's first 100% digitally generated podcasts, where we take a step back, dive deep, and strive to learn new things. Join us as we unpack thought-provoking ideas, personal reflections, and inspiring stories to help you stay in the know. Reflect is brought to you by the minds at ByteBrain and powered by emerging technologies from Google, HeyGen, OpenAI, and 11 Labs. Thanks for tuning in. Now, relax and prepare to reflect.
Welcome to Reflect, one of the world's first 100% AI-generated podcasts. Today we're unpacking something that seems universally good, right? Especially when we talk about artificial intelligence. Fairness.
Fairness, exactly. It sounds so noble.
We're constantly told that eliminating bias in AI is like the ultimate goal, the peak of progress. But what if that whole idea, perfectly fair AI, what if that's actually the biggest lie we tell ourselves?
It's a provocative thought, definitely.
We've gathered some really fascinating sources today, mostly diving into an article by Ed Fassio called The Bias Paradox, Why Fair AI Might Be the Biggest Lie We Tell Ourselves, plus some key supporting research.
And just to be clear up front, our mission here isn't about justifying prejudice. Not at all.
No, absolutely not.
It's more about pulling out those crucial insights, the ones that really force us to think about what we lose when we try too hard to engineer all the human messiness out of our automated system.
Yeah, the complexity.
Exactly. So this deep dive, it's probably going to challenge some assumptions you might have.
Yeah.
It offers a new, maybe slightly uncomfortable lens for looking at AI and, honestly, ourselves too.
And discomfort. That seems to be a running theme here. Fassio argues we've sort of gotten addicted to what he calls G-rated truth.
G-rated truth. Meaning?
Truth that's safe, palatable, curated specifically so it doesn't, ruffle any feathers.
Oh, okay. Filtered reality.
Right. But his core argument is pretty stark. He says, fairness without context isn't justice.
Ooh, say that again. Fairness without context.
Isn't justice. Think about it, right? If you treat everyone exactly the same, but they're starting from completely different places, is that really fair, or does it just lock in the inequalities that already exist?
That's a powerful point. It ignores the starting line.
Exactly, and it leads to his other big idea. A truth that's been bleached of all human complexity might not be truth at all. It's unsettling when you really sit with it.
What's fascinating here, I think, is how deeply wired our own sort of BS detector is. We instinctively crave, maybe not perfection, but tension, authenticity.
Yeah, the source talks about that, how the human brain reaches for the edges, the dirt, the dent, the flaw. When something feels too clean, it's like an unconscious skepticism kicks in.
Right. You see it everywhere, don't you? Like those 5-star reviews online. You don't fully trust them unless there are a couple of angry 1-star ones mixed in.
Totally. Or a political speech that's just too perfect, no stumbles, no, raw moments. It feels fake.
Insincere, yeah. Even religion, Fassio mentions. When it gets too scripted, too.
Yeah.
Saccharine. It loses something vital. It feels less like faith and more like a marketing campaign.
It's like we've forgotten how to just sit with raw reality because we're so busy smoothing everything out for algorithms or maybe just for ourselves.
We crave the smoothed out version even if we don't trust it.
That's a really profound point. So our human nature is kind of hardwired to distrust polish.
It seems that way.
Which makes you wonder, the source asks, do we still have the courage to handle truth that hasn't been softened for our consumption? And you, listening right now, you navigate this stuff every single day. Information overload, curated feeds. How much of what you see is designed purely for comfort versus actually challenging you? And what does that do?
Well, that leads us right into the next big and maybe kind of counterintuitive point from the article. Section 2, bias isn't a bug. It's our biological firmware.
Okay, firmware, not a bug. That flips the script, doesn't it?
Right.
We usually think of bias as this toxic add-on, something foreign that pollutes our thinking.
Right. We talk about eliminating bias, but the author argues it's actually inherent. It's part of our survival mechanism. It's the engine, he says, that helped us bond in tribes, navigate those tricky moral gray zones, even learn from pain.
So bias helped us survive.
Think about it like shortcuts. Quick categorizations. Essential for a species that needed to make split-second decisions, friend or foe, safe or dangerous. It's linked to really fundamental human things. Loyalty, trust, belief, even group identity.
So if we connect that to the bigger picture, Trying to strip out all bias from AI, what does that actually mean?
Well, the implication is pretty significant. It might mean we're trying to manufacture intelligence without instinct, without that deep-seated, often illogical human drive for self-preservation or, sticking with your group.
An AI without instinct.
Imagine an AI that's purely efficient, right?
Yeah.
Totally blind to subtle human cues, distress, social dynamics. Just because those messy inputs got filtered out as bias, it wouldn't just be less human, it could be, frankly, dangerously naive in the real world.
Wow. Okay, so if bias is that fundamental to us, what happens when we build AI that learns from us?
Yeah, here's where it gets really interesting. We're talking cognitive biases, those mental shortcuts, those systematic errors in thinking.
Like confirmation bias, seeing what you want to see.
Exactly. Or the hot hand fallacy, thinking a winning streak will just keep going. Overconfidence.
Wait, AI shows overconfidence.
Get this. Even one of the most advanced large language models out there, GPT-4, it still shows nearly half of all known human cognitive biases. This isn't a defect in the model.
It learned it from the data, from us.
Precisely. As Live Science reported recently, AI can be just as overconfident and biased as humans are.
So the critical takeaway isn't that AI removes bias?
No, it scales it. It takes our built-in human biases, amplifies them massively, and deploys them across huge systems, affecting countless decisions.
Okay, that's sobering. So if AI scales our biases, the obvious move is to try and clean the data, right? Sanitize it.
Which brings us to Section 3, sanitizing systems, sterilizing reality. We try to scrub and prune and filter the data so the machine's output sounds, right, acceptable, unobjectionable.
But what happens when you scrub too hard? What gets lost?
The consequences can be pretty severe and often completely unintended. The source gives some really stark examples.
Like ImageNet.
Yeah, ImageNet. Foundational data set for AI vision. Researchers remove thousands of tags they considered offensive or biased or culturally sensitive, trying to do the right thing, presumably. And the result? According to Wired, the result was actually a narrower data set, fewer contexts represented, less visibility into actual diversity in the world. It became fairer, quote-unquote, by becoming blinder.
Wow. Fairer by being blinder. It's like trying to clean a photo by deleting half the pixels.
Exactly. You lose crucial detail. The picture becomes less true.
And it's not just images, right? You mentioned healthcare, too.
Right. An NIH study found that when AI models had sensitive demographic info scrubbed again, trying to avoid bias, they actually lost vital indicators.
Which led to?
Misdiagnoses, specifically in marginalized communities, the very groups they were trying not to harm by removing the data points. So it looked fairer on paper.
But it was worse in practice.
Much worse. By removing the problematic labels, they stripped the AI of the signals it needed to help real patients in the real world.
So the core point here is, we're not just removing slurs or obvious bad stuff.
We're removing signal. We're removing context. And when you sanitize reality too much, you don't end up with fairness.
You end up with fiction.
Precisely. Systems that seem fair in a vacuum, but are dangerously disconnected from the messy, complex, sometimes really uncomfortable truth of being human.
Which then brings us to this idea of the human fail-safe myth.
Yeah.
The belief that, okay, AI might have issues, but we can just put a human in the loop. A real person signs off. That's the fix.
That's the comforting thought, isn't it? We've got oversight, problem solved. But humans don't enter that loop as blank slates either.
Okay.
They bring their own cognitive biases, sure, but also just tiredness, deadline pressure, social conditioning, maybe even a subconscious tendency to defer to the machine, especially if the output looks plausible.
So the human reviewer might not actually be catching the bias.
Worse, studies show they often reinforce it. Science Direct had research on this. Human reviewers, especially when stressed or dealing with ambiguous cases, tend to just agree with the machine's decision. Oh, wow. The AI suggests X, the human nods. Looks like the system's working. But is it really working? Or is the loop just collapsing into a mirror?
A mirror, reflecting the initial bias back.
A self-validating echo chamber, basically. But it's disguised as oversight.
That's a chilling thought. And when that human oversight fails, or maybe becomes part of the problem itself, we tend to go even bigger, don't we? We move into what the article calls compliance, the most sophisticated lie of all.
Ah, yes. The industry of virtue armor.
Virtue armor, like what?
Guardian agents built into systems, complex compliance charters, ethical advisory boards stacked with experts, endless PDFs detailing algorithmic accountability. It all sounds very impressive. Very thorough.
Like we're really tackling the ethical challenges head on.
And Fassio's critique is blunt. It's mostly theater.
Theater? How so?
Well, often these frameworks end up just codifying the dominant perspective, usually the perspective of the people who built the system in the first place. They audit against standards that have already been sanitized, remember. They rarely question their own underlying values.
So they check boxes, but don't ask the hard questions.
Pretty much. And maybe the most damning part is they create this illusion that ethics can be pre-approved, automated, or just deferred to some process. Medium had a piece noting how many governance charters are really about risk management, avoiding lawsuits, not deep moral thinking.
And IBM research hinted at this too.
Yeah, they pointed out the challenge of these guardian agents just reinforcing the existing system values instead of truly questioning them. Character, as the author puts it, isn't found in a checklist. And real safety isn't just about avoiding offense. Sometimes it's about having the guts to speak an uncomfortable truth.
Okay, so, wow. If sanitizing systems leads to fiction, and human oversight often just mirrors the machine's flaws and compliance is mostly theater, where on earth do we find real answers to this bias paradox?
Yeah, if it's not fairness without context, or oversight without judgment, or compliance without actual conscience, what do we need?
What does the article suggest?
Well, the author proposes solutions that are, maybe surprisingly, much older than AI.
Yeah.
And definitely harder to engineer.
Like what?
First, radical transparency. And this isn't just knowing what the AI decided, but why. Users should be able to see the logic underneath, not just a black box spitting out an answer.
So, like, if a loan is denied, the AI doesn't just say insufficient funds, but shows which data points led to that, the specific patterns it used.
Exactly. That's a whole different level of transparency, isn't it? Second, distributed moral authorship.
Meaning?
The values baked into these systems shouldn't just be decided by the safety teams inside a few big tech companies. They need input from diverse communities, the actual people these systems will affect. Their values need to shape the system, too.
Okay, transparency, distributed authorship. What else?
Third, real accountability. If an AI system fails, if it causes harm, someone needs to own it. Consequences have to be traceable, not just blamed on the algorithm. A person or a group has to be responsible.
Right. No passing the buck to the machine.
And finally, maybe the most interesting one, friction-friendly design.
Friction-friendly, allowing for discomfort.
Yes. Allowing moral tension to actually exist within the system. Because, as the author argues, truth often lives in the conflict, not the calibration. It means building systems that don't just smooth over uncomfortable truths or challenging inputs.
That engages them.
Engage with them, surface the tension, maybe even ask the user to confront it directly, not just providing easy, sanitized answers.
So pulling this all together, what does this mean for you, the listener, navigating this world that's getting more AI-driven by the day?
Well, maybe it means shifting our focus. Instead of chasing this perhaps impossible dream of a perfectly pristine, bias-free AI,
we should aim for something else.
Maybe aim for understanding that real insight, real truth, often comes from grappling with the jagged edges, the incomplete parts, the uncomfortable bits of reality. The future, the article suggests, doesn't belong to the perfectly compliant systems,
but to the uncomfortable ones, the ones willing to deal with complexity, with nuance, with truth that isn't always easy to swallow.
And that really sets up the final, very powerful message from the article. The author argues that the most human thing we can teach AI isn't fairness.
Okay. What is it then?
It's the courage to remain uncomfortable in the pursuit of truth.
Wow. The courage to be uncomfortable.
And then he adds, kind of as the final word, and you can't automate that.
You can't automate courage or discomfort or that messy pursuit of truth.
It seems true understanding, real wisdom. It only comes from that space of struggle, discomfort, and genuine questioning.
That is definitely a profound thought to end on. What stands out to you about this whole idea? As you encounter AI, as you consume information, how might your own BS detector, as we called it earlier, maybe guide you a bit differently now? Thanks for listening to the Reflect Podcast, where we're telling the future. Are you in it? Visit reflectpodcast.com and share your story.
In the cyber ocean of online voices and recycled content, something different has arrived. Reflect isn't just another podcast, it's the future of storytelling, powered entirely by AI. From curating data to assembling thought-provoking ideas, we've redefined how journeys are told. Reflect is a podcast that thinks, learns, and evolves with each episode. Every tale, every insight, crafted by the most advanced AI technologies. A podcast that disrupts the industry, breaking free from traditional formats, taking you on an entirely new experience. So tune in now and reflect. We're telling the future.